Glad to have you join us. We begin tonight with a growing tension in Nigeria-U.S. relations. Although Donald Trump has spoken repeatedly about how much he loves peace, he is now threatening that Washington might go into Nigeria, as he puts it, guns a-blazing. However, the Nigerian government has refuted the accusations of Trump that it has failed to protect the Christian population from Islamist extremists. Trump has threatened military action against Nigeria if the country fails to act fast to stem the killings. Nigeria has for some time now been in the throes of Boko Haram and ISWAP attacks, who have conducted mass killings and kidnappings in rural communities across the north of the country. Both Christian and Muslims have been affected.
President, on Nigeria, just wanted to ask you, do you envisage U.S. boots on the ground or airstrikes?
Could be. I mean, a lot of things I envisage, a lot of things. They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
The report or notion that there is a Christian persecution or genocide in Nigeria is false. We are willing. Anytime, any day. I personally, I have a feeling that in the next couple of days, they are going to have a sit down together, and then we will find a common front in this fight against insecurity.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Washington, D.C. by Arise correspondent Anieze Osakwe. Anieze, glad to have you join us.
Said standby.
Hello, Anieze. All right,
Hi, can you hear me?
Good, fantastic. I can hear you clearly now. Bring us up to speed on the latest you're hearing there on the ground after these weekend's exchanges from both Nigeria and the U.S.
Absolutely. I mean, just like you mentioned, this was a whirlwind of a weekend in terms of back and forth comments between the Nigerian government and U.S. President Donald Trump. The big headline today is the fact that the Nigerian government has basically said that President Tinubu and President Trump will not be meeting. There were some reports flying around that there might be some sort of meeting between the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and President Trump. But, you know, the Nigerian government essentially said that this meeting was not going to happen tomorrow. And they even went as far to say that if President Tinubu was to go to the White House, if he was to come to Washington, D.C., he would have met with President Trump and not the vice president. And as you mentioned, this comes after, you know, President Trump designated or redesignated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. He also essentially said that he would cut off all aid, assistance, and threaten, you know, this major military intervention in Nigeria if Nigeria is essentially unable to, you know, get its act together when it comes to fighting Islamic terrorism. And all of this has played out in an, I would say, incredibly public sphere. It's happened on social media, through tweets, through Trump social posts. So it's something that's really been in the public domain. And a lot of the confusion over, you know, are these diplomatic talks that are ongoing? Are these tweets that are just, you know, flying from one account to the other? There's been a lot of ambiguity. But, you know, today we finally got that comment from the Nigerian government that a meeting isn't happening anytime soon, but we know that this communication is essentially ongoing as of now.
Yeah, glad that is cleared. What are you learning about what led up to this moment and why the U.S. has seemingly become involved in this particular issue? Are they allowed to intervene in this way?
It's definitely an interesting question and point because it's not often that the U.S. government or President Trump will directly, personally intervene in affairs going on in Nigeria. It's a story that we've been covering at Arise for a number of weeks or even months because this is something that's been kind of bubbling in more right-wing American conservative circles. The most, prominent voice that we've heard to this effect has been Senator Ted Cruz. And even up until today, up until hours ago, you know, he was tweeting in support of President Trump's decision to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. But bigger picture, if we kind of look at Trump's perspective in terms of getting involved in issues, you know, involving other countries outside of America. That really hasn't been his MO. President Trump has always been, as we know, very much America first. Let's deal with domestic issues, what's going on in the country, and not necessarily to intervene militarily with force in other countries' affairs. So based on his tweets, if he were to essentially move forward in this direction with the Department of War, it would be a significant shift and potentially even point to the fact that he really is listening to his base. At the end of the day, the conservative, more right-wing individuals are the people who elected him into power. And it's a significant shift from what we've heard from President Trump, but we know where it's coming from, and I think this shows that he is listening.
Now you talk about his base. I mean, there's been talk about him pandering to the Christian base in America. But let's talk about what is happening right there in America. Now, what is the extent of the coverage of this story in the American space, the media space? Is it being discussed much on the newspapers and television?
Definitely. I mean, anything that involves President Trump will be covered here. This story has, while it might have started on social media, on Twitter with, specific right-wing or conservative senators, this has essentially grown to a much bigger story. The story, I've seen it on NPR, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. So essentially all of the major, BBC as well, all of the major international publications and media outlets have taken this story. And it really shows that issues that affect Nigerians or Christians are something that certain people in the American government officials will attach themselves to, essentially. They'll be interested and they'll kind of bring it up to a level of national importance that, according to President Trump, could mean some sort of military intervention. So Americans are definitely talking about this issue, and so is their president as well. So it's definitely a story we'll be watching for the next few days and weeks just to see how it all unfolds.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Correspondent in Washington, D.C., Anieze Osakwe. Thank you so much.